Today is Saturday, November 24th, 2018. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Stacy, and this is the listener feedback show for Survivor David vs. Goliath, Episode 9. I have to start off with some sad news. Joanne's brother passed away. We got a call yesterday, and so she won't be with us for a little while for this portion of the Survivor season. Hopefully she'll be able to rejoin us here before too long. I'll be your host for this week's listener feedback show, and man, was that an amazing episode, and we got 20 super fans who showed up on this big holiday weekend here in the States to share their thoughts and observations. Without any further ado, let's kick it off with a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy, this is Pete from Boston calling here. Oh my goodness, what another great episode. Woo! Now sing with me, guys. Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye, Dan. Oh, Dan.
Take it, Pete.
Got burned again. The idol cursed him, and the nullifier said, "The tribe has spoken." Off to Ponderosa with his brochacho. What an awesome episode, guys. Hats off to those underdog Davids there. I have to say, especially Nick, Christian, and probably, well, I guess I got to give Kyle a little bit of credit for playing that nullifier, right, and all that, too. But what a great job by those Davids. So here they are thinking that they're with the Goliaths to split the vote on Dan and Angelina. But then you got Alec and Allison wanting to be, and Mike, too, wanting to be this Goliath strong again, what good is that doing them? So the Davids for the second week in a row countered, and they may not be winning the challenges, but they're countering, they're definitely dominating the mental stage of the game, and it's been an awesome season. Other than maybe Gabby, all the Davids I could see winning the game. Christian for sure, but he's the biggest threat. Nick right now, I would pick Nick to possibly win, maybe Davey. Still don't know about Carl, and then Gabby. I don't. Gabby is just Gabby. Either she's whining or she's all happy as a cat. So I don't know what to think of her. But as far as the Goliaths, guys, I don't know. Angelina now, what's y'all with her now? This is what, the second or third tribal council, she dodged a huge bullet. Again, I thought it was going to be her. This time it was Dan that went home. Last week it was John when she got saved. So I don't know. We'll see what happens and all that. Allison, I don't know, has an outside chance of winning. Alec and Mike, I think, are the two that have no chance of winning, not that, from anything that I've seen and all that. And I don't think Gabby has a chance of winning either. Right now, I like Nick is one of my favorites right now. But we'll see what happens, guys. Looking forward to the double boot episode and all that. And Joanne, I know you had Dan as your pick and all that. I'm sure you're probably very sad about it, but at the same time happy, because Dan was way too much of himself. Now it should be a fun ride to the finish, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Take care. Woo!
All right. Thanks, Pete. Yeah, Joanne wasn't too sad about Dan. I think she let go of him a while ago. She's got Christian as her USB now, and she's pretty happy with that. And, yeah, Dan's arc was interesting, but you can tell from his Ponderosa video that he may have a tendency to be a little bitter. I was detecting a bit of the gatekeeper there. He was talking about loyalty over and over and over again, and he was talking about it. It was on his mind a lot in his extra videos this week, too, before he got the boot. And so he may have some interesting expectations with how he believes people should play a good Survivor game. I won't be surprised, I guess what I'm saying, if he ends up being a little bit of a bitter juror. I'm hoping that some of John will rub off on him, though, and he'll chill out because he's going to have some extra time to do that there at the Ponderosa. He ended up, Dan ended up losing 26 pounds. He was under 200 pounds, he said, for the first time since he was in middle school. So that was, he definitely went through a lot, both physically and emotionally, and probably some mentally too. I think he had basically put all his hopes for the future of his daughters on winning $1 million, that's a tough gamble. So he's going to be pretty heartbroken, and that's why I'm thinking he might be our first bitter juror. But again, hopefully John will rub off on him and that won't be like that. Next up, we got a call from Grace.
Hey, Survivor fanatics, it's Grace from the Bay Area. The smoke is finally clearing up with this lovely rain, and all my thoughts are going to the families and firefighters in Northern California and Southern California. I just wanted to touch on last week's episode for a second. I wasn't able to call in, but I did listen to the podcast. The part about Angelina not being heard for being a woman, I think it was 50-50. 50% of why she wasn't heard was people just don't like her, and 50% of her was because she is female. I'm only 16, and I've had ideas in school, work, sports, etc., and I've had the exact same experience as Angelina. And I think I am relatively likable. I don't know. So I do think part of it is being female. Well, that's my 2 cents on that. I think these episodes are headed on an upward slope. They just keep getting better and better each week.
Yeah.
And I think this is the best cast ever. I haven't watched every season of Survivor, but out of the ones I have seen, this is the all-around best cast, and they bring so much to the table. I love how Davey got John's jacket and how that's a reoccurring thing, and I find that so funny. Mm-hmm. I liked getting to see Kara more in this episode, and in the extra scenes, getting to hear about her and her mom and the butterflies. That really touched home for me. I'm sad how they don't show more of the rewards like earlier seasons when they would give at least a few minutes to them at their rewards. Now it seems like only a few seconds, and out of that time they're just strategizing. I want to see them stuffing their faces and indulging in the great treat. By far my favorite part of the episode was how all the Davids worked together, from searching for an idol at the crack of dawn to talking on the beach. All we have seen is Goliath talking and strategizing on the beach. But it was nice to see the Davids huddled too. And when they are sharing all their different advantages, it reminded me of the montage parts of action thriller movies when they are preparing for the big heist, which is, in this case, tribal council. And Carl's grin after the idol fire had me howling. I was laughing so hard I had to rewind it a few times. Also, the Ponderosa video of Dan made me question why I disliked him so much. It had the perfect recipe of sentimentality, humor, and most importantly, brochachos. Well, that's it for me. I'm so thankful for everyone who gives feedback, and I look forward to this just as much as I look forward to the actual episode. And of course, Joanne and Stacy for making it all possible. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you, Grace. Wow, you are extremely well-spoken. I'm going to go ahead and predict that you'll be very successful in life. And thank you for sharing your experience. I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from in that regard. I will add that after I've spent 33 plus years in the workforce, that having people take your ideas is something that you will have lots more experience with. Regardless of who you are, it happens to everyone. And you get examples of it all the time. So it certainly happened to me a lot. And I don't think gender was going on there, but I do appreciate you being willing to share your experience and your perspective. I like that 50-50 analysis. Yeah, that extra video with Cara and butterflies and talking about her mom who had passed was an emotional one, wasn't it? It was a good one. It gives you some more insight into Cara and how she sees the world and how she perceives herself in the game, and you can see some of her struggle there too, and how she felt. You can see that Kara's feeling a little, maybe at times a little inadequate compared to the others with regards to the stories that they have, and I think Dan's story with his daughter was one of the ones that was causing her to feel like she was coming up short, and then sort of having to step back and look at her life and say, yeah, I deserve to win too, and I've got people and goals that I'm taking care of. So there was several good videos too about the Davids and their willingness to get up and work harder, you get several different perspectives from Gabby, from Carl, from Davey, from Christian, from Nick on getting up and working to find that extra idol. It was interesting with one of the Gabby ones too, where she was talking about how she didn't know if a Goliath might have it or if a David had it, because no one really shared with her those kinds of secrets. So there's a little more perspective on Gabby in that one. I enjoyed several of the extra videos this week. This season just keeps giving, both in the episodes and in the extras. It's so great to hear from you. Thanks for calling and sharing, Grace. Look forward to more. This week we got an email from Parker in Indiana. He says, hey, I'm sick, recovering, but still can't speak without coughing, so it's going to be a written feedback this week. He says, I loved this episode. It was amazing when the Davids got together and used their slingshots advantages against the Goliaths once again, especially since I got a vote-off point. Yeah, I know you're thrilled. See you, Dan. Not gonna miss you. Honestly, the Davids won this whole episode. I mean, that plan of getting up at the crack of dawn to look for the idol was awesome, and I'm so happy my new USB Christian found the idol. Also, what's up with Allison in this episode? I honestly think she just sealed her fate. I think she's gone next. Why consider to work with the Davids, then decide, you know what? Nah, they're not talking to me enough, so I'm just going to go Goliath strong, which by the evidence of the past two vote-offs is clearly a sinking ship. All in all, really good episode to what is so far a great season and may just be a top 10, maybe even a top 5, Parker says. But it all comes down to the last couple of episodes and, of course, the winner, which is definitely going to be Christian. Next episode, big surprises. Angelina is mad and Gabby is crying. How shocking. Alrighty, that's all I got. See you guys next time. Thanks, Parker. We appreciate that, bud. Even though you're sick, getting your feedback in. What a dedicated fan. All right, we got a couple of quick, short calls here, but there's some excitement that needed to be shared. First up, we got a call from Shea.
Did you see that? That was so good. I don't even have thoughts laid out. I don't have anything to say except, oh my God, did you see that? Ooh, and this is Shea. I'll call back. Did you guys see that? Yes!
All right. Well, Shea didn't get a chance to call back. I imagine she's very busy with this holiday weekend, but we're thrilled we got to share some of her excitement there. Thanks, Shea. Next up, we got another quick call from Victoria.
Hi, Joanna, Stacy. Hello, Survivor Super fans. This is Victoria from Maryland. I'm calling you right before I go to my son's All-Star game for football, so I'm so happy that I remembered right before the deadline. This Survivor season has been awesome. I was so happy with this episode. I was yelling and screaming, and it was just super, super fun. I gotta go, guys. I think about to score a touchdown soon. All right, thanks. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Victoria. Oh, I love that both you and Shea just had to get in, even if it was just a short call. Thank you so much for making that effort. We appreciate sharing your excitement. Next up, we got an email from Ian in Woodland Hills. Greetings, fellow Survivor fanboys and girls. Another great episode. Every episode this season has reminded me how awful last season was. I remember the beginning of last season not knowing who was who because of all the contestant tribe change created so much drama in every episode, so kudos to them. As for this episode, this is the second week in a row where I couldn't figure out who the two most likely vote-offs would be. The only thing I knew was that a Goliath was going home. I had Mike going home because of his betrayal last week of his alliance of 6. I thought next likely would be Angelina simply because she is the most unliked, but Stacy made a good point that she is the ultimate GOAT at this point. Yeah, I think even her own tribe's thinking that. I didn't think Dan would go home because he had the idol, and even though Carl had the idol nullifier, I didn't think he would need to use it. This brings me to tribal council. I really didn't think the Davids would use the nullifier if they were going to use the vote steal. Even if they thought Dan was going to use the idol, they could have easily chose to vote off any other Goliath and save the nullifier for another time. Why do you think they chose the nullifier? It was just a guarantee because they had a specific hit target that they were making sure that they could take Dan out. And that's what they wanted. They wanted the biggest, boldest move, and they thought it was him. That's what I think. I also think that Allison, Alec, and Kara were in on the vote because they had to have shared with the Davids that Dan had another idol. My other question is why there were only 2 votes for Angelina. I was expecting all 3 of them to vote for Angelina. People don't think Angelina's a factor in the game anymore. There's an extra video where Mike talks about how his view of her is completely changed. How he didn't like her when they were together on the tribe initially, and then after they went to 3. But now, after she's been taken down a notch, he seems to be getting along with her pretty well, he says. And he doesn't see her as a threat to win the game. I don't think anyone does right now. Okay. Next time on Survivor, I think the Davids will remain together for at least one more vote. Since next week is a double elimination, the second vote will be very telling. If anyone is going to betray the Davids first, I think it will be Carl. However, Nick is very strategic, and I wouldn't be surprised if he took out Christian. I just don't think he'll do it until the Davids have the numbers. As for Angelina going on the warpath, other than becoming more unliked, I don't imagine she can have any effect on future votes. If anything, she'll continue to solidify herself as the GOAT. Hope you and all the other fans had a great Thanksgiving. I'm truly grateful for this podcast and the Survivor fans family. Excellent. Well said, Ian. Thank you for that. There's an extra video with Carl where he talks about his goals in the game. And I think I don't remember if Joanna and I shared it in the recap or not, but I know it was something we were talking about. We were concerned that he could go the distance, and he basically says in this extra video that his real primary goal is to make it 39 days, to be in the final 3. And he sees all David's tribe final 3. That's what he's expecting to happen there. So that gives you a little perspective on where his mind was at least, around day 24, 25, whenever that was filmed. So that's his main goal, is to be there for the final 3. He says tribal council, well, that's just up to the jury, and he doesn't feel like he's going to have much, if any, control over how that'll go. But if he makes it to 39, he will have done everything that he possibly could have as far as he's concerned. So he's in it for the long haul. Long haul trucker, in it for the long haul. All right. Thanks again, Ian. Next up, we got a call from Cameron.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy, Survivor fans. This is Cameron from North Carolina calling in with this week's listeners' feedback. So, right from the beginning of the episode, I feel like Dan was destined to be cast away from the other Goliaths. Sure, Kara made it seem like he should have joined in the conversation, but it seems to me they could have somewhat BS'd him had he decided to include himself into it. Pretty obvious there to me. So, the reward challenge, we see the Bula Burger Bar. I remember that term from Survivor Fiji's merged tribe, Bula Bula. Pretty sure that term meant you're welcome, if memory serves me correctly. Allison talks a lot about her Survivor resume, and Kim put her as her new USB, I know, but I'm not so sure about Allison now. She seems like much more of a talker than a doer. The Davids definitely were smart to recognize the Goliaths as fakers, specifically when Kara and Allison tried making plans, but then immediately went back to conversing with the other Goliaths. Someone brought it up during Tribal, and yeah, there's a reason there that surely the Davids have to have a pecking order too. I'm not saying I would really like to see Gabby turn on the Davids. Really, I wouldn't want to see it at all. But clearly she is on the bottom of the David totem pole. And Dan the man takes the boot. Well executed, Davids. And hey, I got up a vote out point finally. I haven't got one of those since my lucky stunt with Natalia. So I made my new USB mic, and while I think he's got more potential than any other Goliath remaining, it seems kind of simple to me now that Goliaths are probably going to get picked off now. Next time on Survivor, hell may hath no fury like a woman's scorn, but seeing Gabby once again with the cry, it doesn't really exude power to me, just vulnerability. But could she use this opportunity to flip on Carl or another David, perhaps? I think sure she could, but if she does, that would probably cut her life in Fiji even shorter. Not a bad episode, but still not the most exciting we've seen. The idol and powers used at Tribal were great to see in play, but I mean, it seemed pretty obvious the entire episode that they would be played there. The nullifier did work even differently than I thought it would. I thought Carl could just stand up and play it right after someone used their idol, but no, he had to make the right prediction, and props to him for it paying off. Ultimately, I feel bad for Dan, but the way the Goliaths scoffed to each other at him for just showing them his idols really traced all the way back to episode 1. Alex sounded like he could have been a contributor to this podcast, saying what we had heard each other say, of how foolish he could possibly be to just go and immediately show it to Kara. Alright, Joanne and Stacy, Survivor fans, hope all of my fellow Americans had great Thanksgivings, safe Black Fridays, and I hope everyone listening has a great end of their November. I'll see you all next week.
All right. Thanks, Cameron. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Nicola-n-Jackson.
Well, here I am, Stacy, back again. This is Nicola and
Jackson.
It is Thanksgiving morning. We just watched the whole episode of Survivor.
And there was a fair going on.
There was?
At Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, we watched a bit of the parade, too. What did you like about this week's episode?
The dumping bathtub.
They didn't have the dumping bathtub this week.
What did they have this week?
They had the obstacle course and the snake puzzle.
And the number, how were you?
And then the one with the bull.
I love the one with the bull.
You like the one with the bull? That would be kind of difficult. I wouldn't be able to do that, that's for sure.
I would.
Well, I watched it again. I had a couple of notes. I'm just going to go over these really quick. Oh, how funny was it that Davey had John's jacket?
He had
it at the beginning there. I thought that was pretty funny. I wonder if Angelina cottoned onto that. Dan was just behaving like a brat when they got back from tribal council.
And then, when I'm in Survivor and I'm going to do Survivor challenges, and I'll get all of the immunity idols.
You're going to get all the immunity idols? How about all the bacon burgers?
Yeah, yep. I like bacon. Do you know what we call bacon? Meat candy.
We do. We call bacon meat candy. Poor Carl, no reward. Probably a good thing so that he didn't get tipsy and spill the beans.
We have no reward of Carl.
Good on the Davies for getting up and coordinating an idol hunt. I'm not even sure what the Goliaths were thinking. I guess they weren't. I don't think I've ever seen anybody leap over the high step like Alec did. Mike was significantly silent this week. I don't know if that's a precursor to maybe next week. Davey flipping up his collar when he voted made me chuckle. I'm wondering if Alec and Kara voted against Angelina because that's what the Davids told them to, or if they were just thinking that that's where the votes were going to go with the Davids. Anyway, I haven't watched any of the extra videos yet to find out, but it was absolutely brilliant. One of the best episodes of Survivor for a long, long time, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. You got anything else to say?
Thank you, Joanne and Stacy. Thank you. I love you.
Oh, thank you, Joanne and Stacy, for everything you do. Hope everybody had a fabulous Thanksgiving. And safe travels, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers, Nicola. Cheers, Jackson. Good job. I was really hoping for an extra video to explain the Alec and the Kara vote, but we didn't get it this week. So maybe it'll be delayed. Like there was an extra video this week where he explains how he was actually the one who came up with the plan that took down John, and Christian was giving him credit, and everyone on the Davids was talking about it after they got back from tribal. So maybe after this double episode we'll get, and I'm hoping we get double extra videos, but I'm hoping that we'll get some explanation for their vote and some clue, but it didn't really come through. But yeah, we were thinking that was a loyalty test for Alec and Kara, but hopefully we'll find out soon. Thanks again, Nicola. Thanks, Jackson. Good job, buddy. Next up, we got an email from Tina in Virginia. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I hope you had a few good days and had plenty to eat. We did, in fact, have that. Thank you. Tina says, I passed on turkey this year and had lobster ravioli topped with calamari, all with good company and good wine. Well, that sounds like a great combination. Carl seems like he's going to attack Gabby next episode. He already attacked my favorite Elizabeth, and now he seems to be going after Gabby, neither of which I am happy with. Also, he needs to be careful about showing off after someone is eliminated. Does he not know that Dan will be voting for the winner? What do you think is worse, Gabby crying or Dan sulking? Both seem painful after a few minutes, but I think Dan sulking is worse. I would not be able to handle more than a few moments of that. I'm with you on that. Dan the man-child there, sulking is a bit too much for sure. I can't wait to watch Angelina's reaction to having her name written down. Will she be able to keep her anger in check, or will she have a meltdown of epic proportions? Either way, it'll be fun to watch. My favorite scene this week was the Davids planning their attack on the beach. I am enjoying every moment this season, and all the players seem to be playing hard. It would be difficult to watch the Davids turn on each other, but after 37 seasons, I have learned this will happen. All the best. All right, thanks, Tina. Yeah, it's definitely, I think they've got it, though. It's rare for a group to hold on long enough, but I think they've got it so that they could And I believe it was Carl talking about this in one of his extra videos, picking off the Goliaths one by one. So it's not out of the question. It'll be unique to see who's hanging on, because the Goliaths, who were the last ones taken out, because they eventually become swing votes for somebody's plan to move and strike first, right, within the Davids. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. All right, next up, we got a call from Drew and his crew.
Hey, everyone, this is Drew, and...
Ellie, give you my Play-Doh.
Play-Doh, okay, and...
I made my Play-Doh, and my blanket, and my bunny, and I'm wearing my princess dress.
And you're wearing a princess dress. What a morning. All right. I just showed the kids the challenges from this week, and they were way excited. Did you like the challenges, buddy? What was the first one? When they had to do the snake puzzle, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was when they had to put the balls along the snake, right?
Yeah.
And who won?
Dan!
Not Dan.
Gabby.
Not Gabby. Was it Alec?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Alec, huh? Or were you surprised that Alec won?
Yeah.
Those were a couple of exciting challenges. They just wanted to watch more and more, and I can understand that. Huh. Mm-hmm. Before I move on to this week, I did want to say one thing that I forgot to mention last week, that regarding John's departure and Christian's final words to him, I actually didn't think that was like a jab or a poke or anything. I thought that was like a bro-chacho send-off. You know what I mean? It seemed to me that John understood where Christian was coming from, and I didn't think it was in Christian's character to be kind of needling him, so I actually didn't think anything strange about that. I was surprised that so many people did. All right, so on to this week. It was a good one. I think you guys covered the bases, and so I just wanted to jump in and say I enjoyed it. And that tribal council was just crazy. Like, I had Dan to go, so I was pretty stoked when Davey played the idol for Christian, and I was pretty bummed when Dan played the idol for himself. But then somehow they made me completely forget about the potential nullifier play, and so it didn't even cross my mind that was going to happen, and then it totally did, and that was great to watch all those votes roll in, and Dan was sitting pretty high on his horse for the whole episode, so it was kind of satisfying to see him taking down a notch. And now, you know, he and John can be bros in the Loser's Lodge or Ponderosa or whatever they're calling it these days. I think it's funny how Dan has just given himself all the props in the world, how it took all these crazy things to vote him out, but, you know, whatever. Let him have it. And another thing, I guess that he didn't go home with 2 idols in his pocket, so we should give him credit for that, right? Winner of the week, I'm going to say... Yep. I guess I'm going to give it to Carl, because his nullifier is what got me the full points this week. And maybe Kara, too, because she's really changing things up to try to improve her game as much as she can, though I don't know how much farther it can go. Loser of the week, I don't want to give it to Allison, because I didn't think it was that bad. I mean... She did say some silly things, but I guess I'll just give it to Dan, because he's just been so hyper emotional and not really, I mean, he's been emotional the whole game with the whole showman's thing, and he's just not really been thinking clearly about every little thing. So, plus he turned on his brochacho Christian, and that's not cool. Okay, I think that's all. Do you have anything else to say, Charlie? Are you excited for next week? Yeah. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
That was fun, huh? Hope everyone else had a happy Thanksgiving. It's kind of rainy and snowy today, so I guess it's kind of winter now, right? We better go get a Christmas tree today, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get a Christmas tree.
That's right.
Today.
Yep.
Are you getting the Christmas tree?
Yeah, Joanne and Stacy, are you guys getting a Christmas tree soon? Okay, say bye, Charlie.
Bye.
Say bye, babe. Spooky voice. Okay, catch you guys later. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Adelaide. I hope you found the perfect tree. Next up, we got a call from BrandonA.
What's up, Survivor fans and Joanne and Stacy? Brandon from Cleveland on a beautiful, rainy Saturday morning here, Northeast Ohio. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving for all the American fans and whatnot. But anyway, man, what a great episode. It was just fantastic from start to finish. My roommate actually watched the episode with me. I don't really have pretty much anybody in my life other than myself that really watches Survivor. And my roommate, he is a big wrestling fan, so he's very familiar with Johnny Mundo. He just happened to be eating dinner while I turned Survivor on, and he saw that John got voted out last week. Then he saw the opening confessional of Davey being all joyful and giggly about voting him out and slamming his jacket down and everything. And it was hilarious to me, but it was also hilarious to him, even though he didn't even have the context of all the jacket stuff this season. So I thought that was pretty funny. He actually ended up watching the whole episode, and he really loved it. I don't think he's going to continue to watch it. I don't think he loved it that much, but he thought it was highly entertaining. And the bing that Carl did at the end of the episode, man, we were both just having a ball watching that. We were cracking up, and we still making jokes about it, to this day. So I think that's going to be a thing in our apartment. So, bing! Plus, that reminds me of Friends, and that's like my favorite show of all time, Chandler Bing. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, another fantastic episode. I'm glad Christian found the idol. Definitely rooting for the Davids to take it all the way, unless it's Allison, of course, because she's my USB. If she wins, I wouldn't be mad. Yeah, man, I just can't wait to see how the rest of this season turns out. Looks like it might be a little trouble brewing with Gabby and Carl on the way, but yeah, I'm just hoping for some more good survivors. So, especially with all of these advantages kind of leaving the game, it might start having a more old school feel. But we'll see what happens and how the idol that Christian has comes into play and everything else. And I still like my boy Alec on the other side, too. Goodness, that non-confidentiality agreement. Goodness. All right, man, I'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. That's awesome that you had that experience with your roommate. Cool. Maybe he will watch again. Who knows? Next up, we got an email from KimJ in Nashville. I love this week's Tribal. It has taken many seasons for the extra vote, steal a vote advantage to really work, but the idol nullifier worked on its first time out. You couldn't ask for a better execution. I was thinking, though, what if a Goliath had ended up on Exile Island and gotten the advantage? They would nullify a Davy idol play, and it would not have provided the same excitement because it would have caused no real shift in the game. That's a good point. Okay. There has been much talk in the off-season about the number of idols and advantages and whether or not there are too many. Idols and advantages were put into the game to even the playing field, and they work great when they end up in the hands of a minority alliance, but not so great when they end up with the majority alliance, like in Ghost Island. Of course, the castaways have to actually know how to use them, too. The Davids are real players, and while normally I think people should keep quiet about their advantages, this proves that there is no hard and fast rule. If Davy doesn't know about the steal a vote, he probably doesn't play his idol for Christian last week. If they don't know about the idol nullifier, they go after Allison or Kara instead of the bigger target and Dan. What we have as a result is a heroes versus villain-esque 5 versus 5 merged tribe. There's a real possibility 3 Davids could be sitting in the final tribal council. Maybe they aren't as big of underdogs as the I-24 or the FOA4, but they definitely have the potential to go down as one of the tightest groups in Survivor history. Of course, it could all blow up next week. This season has been so unpredictable, and I'm loving every minute of it. Keep up the great work, Joanne and Stacy. Thanks, KimJ. We appreciate it. Good job on your feedback. That's a good point, highlighting our perception of how much we enjoy the advantage or the idol play is relative to who has it and how it changes the game in that regard. So, yeah, that's all fair. Good stuff. Thanks again, KimJ. Next up, we got a call from Denise.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. It's Denise from Aurora, Colorado. Tonight was an interesting game. It looks like the Davids that were going to vote for Dan, if they all stuck together, would have been 5 against 6. And then the 3 potential swing votes, Allison, Alec, and Cara, they were being wishy-washy about whether they switch over or if they stick with the Goliath. So, yeah, it seems necessary that Nick used his steal a vote. And at first I was kind of wondering why he would pick Allison's vote to steal and not Dan's, since he was the target, and then that would cause him to maybe feel suspicious that they were going to vote for him. Then he could use his immunity idol, and then Carl had his nullifier against him. I guess it didn't really matter if Dan used it or not, in terms of if he used it for himself or if he used it for Allison, because he did ask Cara if he should pull it out for Allison, and then Cara whispered something to him, and he ended up playing it for himself. So then I wonder if she told him to use it on himself. She kind of looked a little bit exasperated after she said whatever it is she said to him. So I guess we'll never know unless they talk about it in videos later. But either way, whoever he played it on, they had the numbers since Allison's vote was stolen. Just seemed kind of interesting, and that they were able to act in true David form and have to use their wits and whatever they have around them to gang up on the Goliaths. Makes it more fun, and I am glad that Dan used his idol on himself, so that way, it would have had no effect if he had used it on Allison, but, it makes it more interesting to watch on TV. Having it nullified. Dun dun dun. Dan was talking about how he thought Cara voted for him or flipped on him. Technically she did, but I guess she really voted for Angelina as a backup. And I noticed the Davids voted for Dan, and the switching Goliaths voted for Angelina. Don't know what I guess because since they're just backup votes, it wouldn't hurt. I guess that's a good strategy to have the Davids vote for Dan just in case the others flipped, and at least they would have had their numbers together still. Yeah, interesting. Well, it looks like next week there's going to be a lot of crying, especially from Gabby, who could always be relied upon. I'm wondering if Christian has a little crush on her. He always seems to be nurturing her and caressing her and holding her. I mean, not in a sexual way, but you never know. I mean, I know I was watching some videos, and he does have a relationship back home, but it doesn't mean you can't have a crush. And maybe he's just a nice guy, but I don't know. I think he might have some feelings, even though he's technically being faithful, it looks like. Anyway, that's it from Colorado. And I look forward to hearing what everybody else has to say, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And goodbye.
All right. Thanks, Denise. Yeah, I think that's coming from empathy with him. He's just trying to comfort her. I mean, it'd be pretty overwhelming to be in that situation with her falling apart and not sure what to do because she outwardly appears to be falling apart. And I know it would be hard to figure out what the right thing to do if it wasn't, other than like trying to give her a hug or to tell her things are going to be okay in some way or another. I still can't help but go back to that Mike quote. He talked about how Davy and Carl would never be behind an insurrection. And, of course, they were. And it's been, two highlights of the season. And that no one would follow Gabby into battle. So we've seen the first two come contrary to what he said. I gotta expect that they showed us that about Gabby because something's gonna turn around. And the other thing, I can't help but wonder about her if it's not a ploy in some way, if it's her way of ensuring through that empathetic response that she can count on him more when it gets further down the line, when the Davids have to turn on each other, that it's not in some ways, I'm not saying that it's just all calculated, but she's not leveraging. I think, she's really smart, and the people who do the best in the game are the ones that use whatever tools they have, and that may be something that she understands. That just sounds rough, I know, because it's so manipulative, but if it works in her favor and that's what she has in her arsenal, I'm looking forward to seeing if that actually, that line from Mike, if it ends up being anything, that no one would follow her into battle. What if she ends up leading the charge at the end? I can't help but think that that's going to happen in some way, shape, or fashion, and that there's more going on with her. I could easily be giving her too much credit. It could be just coming from fear, and that's how it ends up expressing itself for Gabby. But I can't help but think that there's something more going on with her. You watch her and you observe the words that she chooses and how she's thinking about things, and it just seems like there's more going on there. Well, we'll see. Thanks again, Denise. Next up, we got an email from Boston Mark. All right, hadn't heard from him in a while. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I have finally caught up with this terrific season. There we go. I have finally caught up with this terrific season, both the show and the podcast, and what a wonderful season it has been on both forums. Thank you to you both and to all the feedback people. You know you are an SFP fan when your first thought when John got whacked was poor Stacy. All right, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, buddy. There are so many wonderful, intriguing characters, but it sounds like a lot of you are underestimating Davey. He is a true fan, and he is playing hard. I loved seeing his joy to the camera when he was pumped after eliminating John. Carl does his celebrations publicly, but Davey knows better. Speaking of Carl, he strikes me as the one who will someday give it all away to the Goliaths with a stick-to-the-plan type statement. I forget that guy's name who said those fateful words. That's Keith Nail. But his unawareness cost him and his allies, and I picked Carl for this kind of blunder. Oh, okay. I could see that happening, even though Carl's got plans for the end. Although I am not in the contest this season, too late, I predict Angelina is one of the two. With a double episode, CBS might give us an obvious hint about one of the two. Christian is one of the most intriguing players in a long time. His description of finding the idol was tremendous. I think he has articulated the best strategy going forward in idol finding. So the best strategy for those who have idols or advantages has always been to tell no one about your idol and to tell only select people about advantages. However, the edit told us a different story this week. The editors were saying the hubris of the Goliaths meeting without caring about the Davids led the Davids to compare notes, and their comparing notes led to a winning strategy. So if a team is cohesive, perhaps it is better to share. Those last 2 weeks were the bomb. Love it. All right, great to have you back. Thanks, Boston Mark. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Sophie.
Hey Survivor fans, and Joanne and Stacey, hi. This is Sophie in Texas, and I'm just quickly trying to get my feedback in. We've got a busy day ahead of us. I have been wondering why my throat always hurts after watching a Survivor fan, and it's because they've all been scream-worthy. My kids hate sitting next to me during Survivor, but yes, again, Tribal Council, it was fantastic. Bringing out the idols and everything, even though the nullifier was used, which was used in the best way, and it was used in the correct way, it was fantastic. I don't think it was a waste still to use the extra vote, even though it wasn't actually needed. I think it was perfect that it was against Allison. It just made her really annoyed. She thinks that she's doing so much, having conversations and staying loyal, but I think it really just showed her that, you know what, your vote's not needed. Calm down, you're not, such a big shot like you think. She thinks that she's doing all these big moves and stuff, so I think it was good. It sort of put Allison in her place. It was good to see her working a bit, but yeah, she sort of lost it again for me. I really enjoyed the challenges, and I had Alex safe, so when he won immunity, that was really good. And then for the first time, I got my 4 safe points, and I got my point for Dan. Yes, I got him going, and he did. So that was the first. I think that they all worked together, the Davids, excellently. I don't remember a tribe really collaborating so much and talking and sharing all their idols and then getting up at the crack of dawn. That was really impressive to see. So I do hope that continues. And next week, I'm just thinking that maybe Allison goes and then Angelina. Also, if you could just clarify, do we put 2 vote outs and then do we have to put just 4 safe people? Okay, everybody, just really enjoyed it with you guys, and it'd be nice if we could have like a live reaction one day. Like we could have all our faces being filmed watching Survivor. That would be really funny. But have a great weekend, everybody, and I've really got to rush out now. Take care. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Sophie. So glad you're able to make time to share your thoughts this week with such a busy day. I know it's crazy for a lot of folks today. And to answer your question, yes, you choose 2 people to be voted out, and then of the remaining folks, you got to pick 4 that are going to be safe. So your normal 4 safe votes, and then 1 extra vote choices rather, and then 1 extra vote out choice. Okay, 2 vote outs, 4 safe. There you go. That's what we do for double episodes. Thanks again, Sophie. Next up, we got an email from Boo. Hi, Joanna and Stacy. I really enjoy your show. This is my first time writing in. Great to have you here, Boo. One thing I've noticed about this week's episode is that some people are critical of Nick's decision to steal a vote from Allison. One possibility I haven't heard discussed is that the Davids didn't know for sure who, if anyone, had idols on the Goliath tribe. People are speculating they were told Dan had an idol, but even then, all they would have was the word of the Goliaths, who could have very well been lying to misdirect them from their perspective. I think it's possible Nick thought Allison was the most well-liked person overall on the Goliath side, and stealing her vote might lead to a Goliath like Mike or Dan to play an idol on her, or for Allison to even play an idol on herself. Even though we know only Dan had an idol, the Davids didn't know that. And I think hypothetically Nick did correctly read that Allison was the overall most liked person on the Goliath side. So he would be correct in making it seem like she was in potential danger to draw out any unknown idols. What are your thoughts? Well, that's a good question. That's an interesting way to look at it. Thanks, Boo. So yeah, I can see that now that you frame it that way. And like we mentioned in the recap show, our idea was that we were curious if maybe they were offering her cover, so that they had shared with her what was going to happen. Like she knew that Dan was going to go, and that was a way to give her an out. Either they shared it with her or they didn't. Either way, it might have been Gabby, politicking for Allison to protect her in some way so that she could use her down the road. So, yeah, that's an interesting thought, too. Thanks, Boo. Thanks for joining in the podcast. Great to hear from you. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Hello, Joanna and Stacy. Hello, Survivor fans. This is Jeremiah Panhorst here with some feedback about another awesome episode. Wow, man, this has been such a great season, but these last two episodes have just been such a delight to watch, especially with Tribal Council. So much for us to unravel and to think about and, of course, overanalyze. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this particular episode was listening to your guys' podcast, because you guys had immediately different reactions and different thought processes that even I had when watching it. Take, for instance, the Allison issue. I really felt like maybe Nick made a mistake right off the bat by using the vote steal on her. I really think that he should have done it all on Dan. I think everything should have been on Dan. They should have stole Dan's vote and used the nullifier. But, that was a direction it didn't go. And your guys' thought process of maybe she was tipped off, or maybe they were trying to protect her. Didn't even think about that. That's very interesting. So I haven't had a chance to watching the extra videos, so hopefully maybe we'll find out some more information about what happened during Tribal Council. But my initial reaction was that it was a mistake, but now I'm starting to wonder maybe it wasn't. Although, if Allison did not know about it ahead of time, she could be a little bit upset about this, that she was the one, of course, whose vote was stolen. But so interesting. Also, too, the reactions about what happened with Cara and Alec. Were they tipped off? I didn't even really think much about that. I kind of assumed that it was a last minute decision there at Tribal Council when they realized there was going to be a vote steal, that maybe they should go ahead and show their loyalty. I wouldn't even think about the fact that maybe they were told to vote for Angelina. Didn't even think about that. That was brilliant. Very exciting. So I don't know. I'm going to be finding it'd be interesting to see how that played out. But I just loved hearing your guys' thought process there, and thinking of things that I wasn't even thinking about at the moment. So much to unravel. I just love this. So next time on Survivor, I think it's going to be interesting. Love double episodes. It was always exciting. You got 5-5 right now. I can't imagine the Goliaths going to rocks, right? They're not going to force a 5-5 tie. Really can't imagine that happening. That would be insane. So I'm definitely expecting someone, of course, to move over. Now, will Alec and Cara move over? I'm wondering if this will backfire on them, because, I think that there's a good possibility, they hype up the fact that Angelina is pissed. I wouldn't be surprised if she comes to the Davids first and says, I want those guys out. They put my name down. I want them out. And at this point, the Davids, they just need one person to come over to avoid a tie. So I kind of wouldn't be surprised if that's the two people who go home in this next episode. Yeah, obviously, maybe the Davids have their own issues. Carl probably eventually he's not going to make it to the end, I don't think. So they may churn him eventually, but I don't think in this episode. I think that's a red herring, and I do think that that's probably going to go home next. All right, well, that's it for me. You guys take care. Can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. And until next time, this is Jeremiah from Southern California.
All right. Thanks, Jeremiah. And thank you for sharing that and how that impacted you, hearing our thoughts when we were doing the recap. That's something that you give us every week, and all the other super fans too. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I love the listener feedback show so much. Thankful for all you guys. Next up, we got an email from Josh the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, the Davids pooled their stones and took out a Goliath. Woohoo! What an episode. Here's hoping tribal lines died along with Dan's chance to win. This week's other observations. Angelina must be ticked. First, Mike takes her idea. Next, Davey takes John's jacket. Dan sitting alone in the dark reminded me of the table for one scene in The Lonely Guy. The survivor gods were kind to Carl by keeping him far away from the beer. On weekends, Davey and Dan relax by heckling Math Olympics events. Gabby wants Allison to come to the good side. I want to win megabucks. Neither is likely. Angelina craves veggie burgers even more than she craves jackets. Allison flipping about flipping on flipping made me flip my lid. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That's good. Why do larger alliances sleep while letting their intended victims search for idols? Yeah, it's like the Davids are a tribe of Ben, aren't they? Huh. Puzzle-solving algorithms, search algorithms. Is this Survivor or a STEM event? That's good. I like that. Oh, if there's ever a Survivor Olympics, Alec is a lock in the long jump and hurdles. Dan wanted to cut the head off the snake, but the Davids cut out a butt head instead. Between his leaping, his balance, and his coordination, Alec's threat level should have risen significantly. Yeah, definitely. Of course the Goliaths segregated themselves on the beach. That's what cliques do. Allison's applying the Hippocratic Oath to strategy. Above all else, make no moves. Yeah, do no harm. Make no moves. The Davids had an advantage potluck. Gabby didn't even bring a bean casserole. Medical residents are sleep deprived, so it makes sense that Allison needs wake-up calls. That's good, yeah. Christian's analogy at Tribal reminded me of my first car on a cold New England morning. The Davids were spot on about the Goliath's entitled complacency and bad faith attempts to reach across the aisle. I'm bum-puzzled. Why didn't Nick steal Dan's vote instead? I think we're going to have to wait to find out about that one. I think Allison, Alec, and Kara called an audible at Tribal in putting 2 votes on Angelina. Could be. I'd love to know what Kara whispered to Dan about playing his idol. Dan's reaction when he got nullified reminded me of the old "That's Not How It Works" commercial. Next time, 2 episodes, 2 vote-offs, we get twice as long to submit feedback, right? You booger. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy, for all you do. I can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Thanks, Josh. You nailed it, bud. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California. Well, we got another stellar episode this week. This season just continues to deliver in terms of excitement and just amazingly great gameplay. I cannot remember a season where so many idols and advantages have been played and played effectively. These episodes have just been so exciting. So here are my thoughts on this episode. Right there at the beginning, I wanted to mention that I am really happy that they have completely done away with opening credits. They just don't even bother with them anymore. And actually, it took me a long time to notice, and I don't miss it. I loved Davy's first confessional. He has a jacket. I mean, that's just amazing. The theme of jackets in this season is just really funny. At the reward challenge, I am just loving how they are reacting to finding out what foods they're going to get. And also, during the challenge, I was really impressed with the Orange team's strategy for distracting Christian by just yelling out random numbers to try to confuse him. I thought that was really good thinking on their feet. I had to go back and listen to Mike's comment a couple of times when he said, I know we all hate each other, but we have to stick together, when he was talking to the Goliaths about not flipping. That's not really an argument or a persuasion that I would want to hear. And I was so happy for Christian for finding the idol. I really giggled and found it very funny that the editors decided to highlight the portions of the island that Christian was talking about when he divided it into sectors. I do not think we have ever had a survivor to divide an island into sectors to search for an idol. So that was a first, and that was really fun to watch. Good on him for knowing that he is now a permanent target. I think that will serve him well in the game. And listening to the Goliath faction and the David faction talk to each other this episode, you can really see that the Goliaths have kind of a naivete about strategy and survival in this game that the Davids do not. The Davids really have a grip on this. The Goliaths are all huddling, wondering what to do and trying to figure it out. And the Davids just look at them and, everything's just so transparent to them. I think everybody is feeling kind of stifled in having to stick with their original tribal alliances. But the Davids are really handling it a lot better and doing what they need to do to work together. And they did so using their advantages to perfection. They used the steal a vote to get the numbers in their favor, and then they used the idol nullifier to make sure that their target went home 100% guaranteed. And now they're tied 5-5 with Christian having an idol that no Goliath knows about. And I can't wait till next week. I hope this season continues to surprise me, and I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. Till next week.
All right. Thanks, Jen. There's an extra video from Mike where he talks about how difficult it is to keep the Goliaths on point, to keep them focused on voting together, and how he has to keep reminding them over and over and over. So I think that was probably some of his frustration coming out when he said that. That at least that's the sense that I get after watching that extra video. Thanks again, Jen. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here, and wow, what a great episode. But as Survivor fans, how can you not think that? I mean, we know what makes a great episode, and this season is really turning out to be a surprise for me. And as fans, we know one or two things about the shenanigans that have occurred after the filming of this season. And this week, I think we finally got to see how the start of the whole Alec and Cara thing sort of comes together. I just wish we'd see Angelina leave already, but I think there are bigger fish to fry first, so I'm going to stop picking her to go and just learn to deal with her. I wonder if she'll cry half as many tears for Dan as she did for that veggie burger, though. I seem to be 1 week behind on everything this season, which is a nice way of saying that I'm playing JSFL horribly. 2 weeks ago, I picked Mike as my new USB. Last week, he shut down his game, and last week, I said that Allison was an underdog to watch, when clearly we learned this week that she's this season's Laurel, all on board and gung-ho for a big move until the train starts to pull away from the station. Well, at least I saw poor Dan for what he was before this roller coaster ride started. And poor Dan, all he did this episode was brood about things and wear a sour puss. I mean, he took things very personally in this episode, so it was probably best that he went home. Although the way it happened, well, I can't see that easing any pain for him. And truth be told, it was a crappy way to go. Sort of like when Suri left the game the last time she played, just because there was no one left to vote for. I almost, and I do mean almost, think that there should have been a warning about the nullifier, but more on that later. Oh, and was that Davey who was distracting Christian at the challenge by calling out random numbers? Yep. There is no doubt that he won't have any trouble picking off Davids when the Goliaths are gone. And isn't the theme of the season working better than ever here? You can see how thrilled Jeff is whenever he calls out the Davids or the Goliaths. He's loving it. So how do I feel about the nullifier? Well, first off, I was sure it wouldn't be played correctly this season. But way to go, Davids. But the thing is that I think it can lead to some pretty hairy situations, considering how many immunity idols you have floating around at Tribal. Remember the days when there weren't any, or there was only one? But what I do like about the nullifier is that it's going to force people to keep their idols to themselves, if they keep playing this nullifier thing. So, in my mind, Davey and Alec are the two most promising players. Once Goliath is gone, Christian will need a lot of luck to avoid being voted out since everyone sees that he's a major threat. Me, well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Nick is my pick for a winner at this point. There's just so much more to him that wasn't shown in his first episode. Next to go, though, I'm pretty sure that my USB mic is out of here. And then I think I'm picking Alec as well. He's strong, he can win challenges, so he'll need to be dealt with sooner rather than later. Will Gabby cozy up to Allison after all of this? Well, I can't wait wait to see, but I'm thinking yes, because she's so insecure. Oh, and the Gabby Carl thing, that's just a red herring. These two are too smart to lose sight of the goal at this point. So I guess that's it for me. Everyone take care. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. I agree. I think that's a red herring, too. We'll soon know for sure, though, huh? There's an extra video with Allison where she was talking about how much she wanted that Bula Burger Bar reward and how important it was to her. And she said two things that stayed with me. One, she said that she was anemic and that she needed red meat and get the iron and everything. So I'm wondering how much that's going to affect her over the course of the game and if it's having any impact on her right now, given that that was on her mind when she missed out on that reward. The other thing that she said was that in that challenge, like where you said that Davey was yelling, trying to confuse Christian, that she had looked at the other numbers and she had two of them and she was trying to share that with Christian, but Christian ignored her. So he wasn't actually paying any attention. She wasn't able to help him at all in doing that. So I don't know that the Davey call-in numbers to confuse him had any impact either, since she said Christian had his own plan and he was executing to that. Yeah, there's some good extra videos, some extra insight. Not like I said, nothing to help us understand why, for example, Alec and Kara ended up throwing votes towards Angelina, but hopefully that'll come this next round. Well, you guys just did a fantastic job on the listener feedback again this week, and I was impressed. We had 20 people on this holiday weekend, so good job. I want to thank everybody who took the time out of their busy lives to share your thoughts and predictions and your enjoyment and your excitement and your questions. And thanks for the new folks who joined us this week, too. It's just really good. We love hearing how you felt about the episode and your ideas for how things are going to play out. I want to say a big thanks to Emily for her continued monthly donation in support of the podcast expenses. Thank you so much for that. We greatly, greatly appreciate your support. Also, big thanks to Jen Moore and J. Casey Chapman for your iTunes reviews. It's a great way to help support the podcast, too, saying, hey, I enjoyed this. It's good. Check it out. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. If you play JSFL, don't forget to get your picks in before the deadline, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Wednesday. And remember, you'll need to choose your normal 4 safe votes and then 2 vote outs. Double episode, 2 people going. Man, it's excited. Looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Have a good one.